The Imagine More Success radio show is the all about you show with successful entrepreneurs and business experts sharing their stories and powerful takeaways while providing you with tips, tools, tactics, and a free weekly gift to help you thrive. Your hosts for the Imagine More Success radio show are the best-selling authors Cindy Hendricks, a certified business consultant, and Thomas Hides, a certified world-class public speaking coach. Check out the Imagine More Success radio show at imaginemoresuccess.net, because now is the time to realize your dreams and imagine more success.
Hey, welcome to the Imagine More Success radio show. We are so happy you could join us today. We've got a very special guest today that we're going to be having a wonderful show with, and her name is Eva Vennari. She's known as the Healing Rebel. Cindy, I picked her specifically because when I looked at her bio, I saw that she had studied minerals, and you know how all my friends make fun of me and call me Mr. Magnesium. I felt like it was a perfect idea to bring her onto the show.
Well, I'm not sure what you could learn because you are so knowledgeable about so many different nutritionals and supplements and vitamins that I've learned a lot from you. So I'm excited to have Eva share her wealth of knowledge with us today also.
Yes, she knows a ton. She knows so much more than I do. She's going to be sharing a lot of things with you. In fact, her real mantra is to say that you can have it all. And really, that's kind of what the show is all about, right? The idea that you can have it all. You can have energy like you've never experienced before. You can have a natural glow that helps you feel and look younger. And I even think it'll make you sound younger as well. Today, we're not talking about fads. We're not talking about trends. We're not talking about using crazy drugs or anything like that. This is going to be a real story about transformation for you that is going to give you tremendous potential to really change the way that you feel in your life. This is coming from someone who has done this for herself and has an incredible amount of knowledge on how to help you overcome chronic fatigue, burnout, insomnia, depression, fibromyalgia, and hypothyroidism. If you have one of these conditions, definitely make sure that you stay tuned today. You're going to be hearing incredible insights on how you can make amazing changes in your life.
Well, you know, Thomas, today, more than any time in the current history of our world, it's so important to stay as healthy as possible because besides what's going on with the pandemic, we're not even sure what else could be out there. We're learning every day what things are happening in other countries that come eventually to us here in the U.S. So it's really fantastic that we have someone so knowledgeable that's going to share with us how we can help our immune system to really strengthen up so that we can, make those vaccines we're all going to be getting really work for us.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about scientific principles of healing as well as some quantum principles of healing as well. So we're going to be dealing with the known and the unknown. There's just going to be great information, a lot of great entertainment as well. I want to go ahead and tell you a little bit about our guest today. Her name is Eva Vennari. She is the founder and CEO of the Elevate Institute. It's a cutting-edge health coaching firm which specializes in empowering you, driven professionals, to take charge of your body and your health. She's the creator of Reveal, which is an optimal health intensive that lets you understand exactly what your body needs to heal and rejuvenate so that you can continue bringing your vision to the world. Eva, thank you for joining us today. What a pleasure.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited to meet this Eva Vennari. She sounds amazing.
Hey, that's what everybody's listening today.
So send her in, Coach.
Oh, this is wonderful. So, Eva, this is, like I said, I had a chance to talk to you on the phone, and really, we got really in depth really quickly about a story that actually seems almost like a universal story for so many people at this point. If you would go ahead and take a little bit of time and tell us a little about your health journey and how you went from being unhealthy to healthy.
Yeah, hot mess is a good description. I was a single mom raising 2 kids on my own, full-time job, and somehow decided it was a good idea to pick up, a side gig. And that was the beginnings of, the Elevate Institute. I thought I really want to do something else with my life than just what I was doing. But at the same time, I was suffering with, like you said, you named off three or four different symptoms. I had 30 different symptoms and diagnoses, and it was started with the chronic fatigue that took 10 years to diagnose, a little bit longer than I think is necessary.
Wow.
Burnout was not a word that was in the medical vernacular at the time. Now it's accepted, and they're like, yeah, here's what it means. But I was one of those that was saying, look, I'm tired. I don't feel good. I don't look good. There's got to be something wrong. And every single time I sought attention from a doctor who drew my blood, took x-rays, they said, look, we can't find anything really wrong with you. And the underlying theme of that all was, we think it's in your head. You should go seek, psychiatric help. And it's really disempowering when you walk away from somebody that you've sought help through, and they said, no, there's nothing wrong with you. So I'm stubborn, and I decided to use that to my benefit. I did not give up. I did not want to take drugs. Antidepressants were their solutions. And I said, no, I want to be a productive part of society. I want to continue down a road of thinking that the pie in the sky attitude of my body should be healing itself. I'm way too young to be feeling this old. There must be a solution out there. And I used that to my benefit. And because I was blessed with insomnia, up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I decided I'm going to put in a search string. I'm going to say, I'm going to take all 30 of my symptoms, and here's some of them that I can still remember, because I've forgotten many of them. But it started with chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression, fibromyalgia, itchy skin, heart palpitations, foggy thinking, allergies to not just environmentals, foods, chemical sensitivities. I couldn't be in a room with people who wore their cologne or their perfume. It was just too much for me. Milk was a problem. Shellfish was a problem. Gluten was a problem. Like I couldn't eat anything. People were like, "What can you eat?" Salad. With a little, like it was very limiting. I'm like, I can't eat anything. I know it doesn't feel so good. Every year I had some sort of chronic infection. So the list went on and on. Arthritis, things that were just symptomatic, and the solutions weren't coming. But this search string that I put in resulted in an article, very obscure article, clicked on one thing, led to another, and here finally I'm reading a story about here's what it would feel like to be experiencing a body that is out of mineral alignment, out of balance. And I started reading really about me, my experiences. I couldn't sleep at night. I didn't have energy during the day. I'm sleeping 17 hours during the daytime, couldn't sleep when I'm supposed to, couldn't have conversations with people. Just like tons of things that, because I couldn't get the words. You have to remember a word. I know this word. I use it every day and I can't remember it right now. That was my experience. How can you function? So I decided I'm going to learn more about this. And the next morning I found a local practitioner to me and I signed up with her. She was in mineral balancing. And that was the first time I'd experienced solutions and feeling better that were sustainable beyond me being just on this particular program. It was completing out and healing things once and for all. And that was new.
That's incredible. And while you have a list of symptoms that sounds completely exhaustive, I'm always surprised by how many people have a gigantic list of symptoms just like this. And they may not have every single one, but it seems more and more common. And it seems that very often they do hear, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you should try some sort of psychiatric drugs or something like that. And really, when someone tells you that there's nothing wrong with you, but you know that there's something wrong with you, what they're really saying is that there's nothing wrong with you based upon the metrics that we are using to evaluate your health.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
there's
and the big
always
thing
more.
Is too, Thomas, is that the minerals have been depleted from our land when food is being grown. And when we can't get it from the land, I have read where there's only expected to be 10% in a supplement of what's on the bottle. So if you're not spending some money on your nutritionals, you're probably not getting the full amount of what they're telling you that you are.
Ava, what do you know about that?
There's an even deeper story to that, because you may not be getting good quality minerals based on the type of delivery that supplement is allowing for.
Exactly.
But
Let's
now
talk about that. Oh, go ahead.
there's
No,
more.
no.
There's a whole other side to that. How much can your body absorb? So there's the whole idea that your body needs to be able to break down, utilize, and put to work those really good. You just paid all that money for that supplement. It better damn well work. And a lot of times our body's depleted ability to create enzymes for breaking down the food and that supplement in the nutritional tract, all of the digestive tract, and then absorb it and utilize it, our cell structures have become so almost unrecognizable. They're not the full strength, 100% DNA replicated cell that can then absorb and utilize these really good quality nutrients. So you basically have a little tiny heater to try to heat a really big room, and it doesn't matter how much energy you put in that heater, it's just not big enough. And that's really the effect that even a good mineral has on a depleted body.
Something else that I think is really fascinating, and I learned this a couple of years ago, that there's scientific evidence that people who have experienced those early childhood traumas, also, when those childhood traumas are still unresolved as adults, their absorption rate of very specific vitamins and minerals is significantly lower than someone who did not have trauma like that as well. And that always makes me think, hey, the equation is not as simple as like, take this pill or take this supplement and you're going to certainly get this result, right?
Right.
And I think, me personally, I think I've taken that for granted as well. The idea that if I take this, I will then get this absorbed and get the benefit of it completely, not really factoring, like you said, all of these other issues that could possibly halt that process, was digestive, or like I said, even early childhood trauma can have an effect. So who knows how many other things out there can really make a difference.
Well, and I don't think they've tested stress enough to know exactly what it does to the body, because it just really is depleting in general. So imagine what it's doing to all of our vitamins that we get from, eating and supplements and drinking water with fortified minerals.
Well, you can take that conversation even deeper and say, I can tell you right now that if a person is not consciously aware and present with the moment that they're eating, chewing their food, swallowing, letting the food digest for 15 minutes after the last bite, they're not absorbing anything. So, yeah.
That just spoke to me right there, because sometimes I'm eating on the run for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many people do you think do that? There's got to be tons of people, right? So you have all these people that are having that same experience.
So what do you recommend after you have a meal, Eva?
A good habit to take on is, and I think this is really why in old school days they used to have a glass of wine at the table that they would drink after the meal with family, and you would gather around and make it a social occasion, because that time of sitting allowed for the digestion to occur. Feeling good, being happy, being in service, being in gratitude, having those above the sea level or midline emotional state of satisfaction. That is where we digest well. That's where we heal. That's where the body feels at rest. That's when we deplete out those extra cortisol, the buildup that we have in the day from on the go, got to meet this meeting, got to go this person. All of that builds up in the day, and you have to have time to let it deplete. And there's a much bigger difference between sleep and rest. And rest is important throughout the day. Resting right after that last bite, and you're chewing and you're swallowing, it is not the time to get up, grab your plate, and go to the sink, or put whatever, if you're on the go, in the trash. Then this is the time to just sit and go, all right, I'm going to take a few minutes and love myself, really, and let my body do its work. It's kind of like that rest period between your workout regime. You do your arms before you go into your legs, you rest, or whatever, however it is that you're switching things up. Rest is just as important as the workout. And so in this case,
yes, well, that's my kind of solution. Okay.
Even if I took as much time between eating as I did working out, I'd starve to death. So I'm going to have to come up with a different metric for that. But we want you to stick with us here. We're going to continue the conversation with Eva Vennari today from the Elevate Institute. And we want you to feel free to go back and check out some of our past episodes at imaginemoresuccess.net. We want you to stick around today. Again, in the fourth segment today, Eva is going to be offering you a free gift, which is extraordinarily valuable for getting your health in order, helping you feel fantastic, especially if you have problems with something like fibromyalgia, depression, fatigue, insomnia, all these things that seem to plague so many of us these days. You're definitely going to want to stick around. And if you'd like to learn more about what Cindy and I do for coaching, it can kind of help to get you to the next level, go to findhiddenmoney.com. But please stick around. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Thank you for staying with us today. You're in the right place to definitely learn new and exciting ways to change your life and to change your health. Today, we've got a very special guest with us, Eva Vennari. She is going to be enlightening you about how you can get the very most benefit out of your life when it comes to taking care of your health. She's the CEO of the Elevate Institute, and she is doing cutting edge health coaching, which is specializing in really empowering you to take charge of your body and your life. Eva, in the previous segment, we had a little bit of a fun conversation talking about some of the real issues that are kind of plaguing people in this modern day life, how they're overcoming depression and insomnia, how they're being really plagued by it, fibromyalgia, all these kind of terms that are getting thrown around, and how often they're misdiagnosed or there doesn't seem to be much help for them. And you started to talk about some of the solutions. I want to go back a little bit. I want you to talk about some of the other, let's call them intermediate problems that people are experiencing.
Intermediate problems that people are experiencing.
Yes, as far as like people sometimes aren't quite getting a label yet. So what does a day feel like for someone who's maybe not even aware of it?
It's funny what we get used to. And I say that in all seriousness. We draw a line of, well, today I've taken stock of feeling, I got through this meeting. I went on this outing, got in my car and drove. And you don't realize that what you used to be able to do in a day, 3, 4, 5 different appointments, turns into, I have to measure it. I know that if I have more than 2 appointments, or if I have more than 1 or 2 of these kinds of appointments, that I can't spend quality time with my family, and vice versa. Your first and best energy goes towards something that maybe is the most important priority, to put food on the table, but everything else suffers. And slowly friends drop off. Slowly your family obligations become feeling more like an obligatory, gotta go, don't want to. These things, they're just so slow in their changes that you don't realize what you're living with. And that's why people have, you mentioned it the very early on, they have one complaint. They don't remember that they're already living with a laundry list of other ones that they've just decided is normal for their age. So
yes.
That's, this is, yes. And I remember my dad coming to me, and I think I was in the middle of getting diagnoses, multiples of them, and still had many mystery symptoms that didn't have a diagnosis name to it. And he just said to me, he goes, Eva, I was under 30. He goes, you're just way too young to be having all these problems. I said, yes, I know that. Not helpful, but yes, I know that.
Well, at least, you know what's great though? He did at least recognize that it was outside of your norm, whether it was because of age or whatever reason. And for so many people, myself included, I definitely count amongst you if you're feeling like this, I didn't realize what was happening until years after it had already been happening. I'd made adjustments in behavior, just assuming this was like a natural thing or a byproduct of any number of things that were outside of my control.
Yeah, I really do feel blessed having the amount of dysfunctions so early, because it really drove home the point that illness should not be allowed in our purview, like in our experience, ever. Not until we're 2 weeks before the death, on our deathbed, realizing this is the end of life, whatever that is, not held in suspension on medications, propped up in preservations until finally one day the body gives out. And that's not the way that we live our life. We're supposed to have strength, vibrancy, feeling good. I feel good and I look better than I did 10 years ago when I started this journey.
I don't know too many people who wouldn't want to be able to say they look better and feel better than they did 10 years ago.
Right.
So I think that definitely should be a goal, I think.
Well, society makes it so easy for us to come up with crutches for every single thing that goes on with us. Like, I know when I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week in corporate America, I lived on caffeine, and then I had some wine at night, and then the next day I did the same thing. Yes. And at least I didn't get into the heavy drugs some people do to be able to keep going.
Cindy, you're making that Starbucks stock go up, and
right? I know.
Silver Oak in business.
Well, your body comes to a point that says no more caffeine, honey.
You just hit the nail on the head. This is part of my marketing. I tell people, we get through our day by drinking caffeine in the daytime. It runs in our veins. And then at nighttime, we try to slow things down with a glass of wine. But eventually, your body burns out on the ability to be able to process either of those drugs and chemicals. And it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. You get to the point where your body takes in a caffeine and you're still head on the table.
Well, I was
Work.
definitely mainlining it, and it taught me a lesson. So I definitely am on decaf now, and a lot of vitamins and supplements.
So, Eva, let's talk a little bit about the Elevate Institute, and let's talk about what exactly it is.
Sure. So I kind of back into the what it is because the result is so much more important, and it's individualized as a person's thumbprint. Their journey from where they are to the ideal life is different for everybody, and the amount of time and training and even personal hand-holding that an individual needs is different. But it all starts with, okay, look, if you give your body what it needs, it'll tend to heal itself. Then the next question is, how do you know what to give it? So I sell the idea of feel good in your body again, be productive again. And oh, by the way, I need some of your hair.
Eva, that might be the hardest thing for me to donate to you, quite honestly. Where I should have my head shaved. But all jokes aside, that is one of the methods, or one of the first things that you're doing, right, in order to analyze where people are in the moment, right?
Right. So hair is much like tree rings in a tree. When you cross section it, it can show you the history of a tree's, processing, what's around it, its environment, how it's processed, all the nutrients in it. And the hair that's closest to your scalp, and by the way, chest hair, pubic hair, arm hair, it's all hair. It all works. So
Okay.
Most people grow hair somewhere. That's all I'm saying. And the hair that's closest to where it's growing the skin, that gives us the information, about an inch's worth of growth, gives us that information that says, how are we processing our food? Are we getting rid of the toxins that we are exposed to? Because you're not living in a bubble, you are exposed to them. I don't care how careful you are, they're there. They're everywhere, they're on every surface, they're in all our water, it's on all our food, it's just everywhere. And I don't say that to scare. And it's like, your body, when it's fortified, guess what? It pushes out all that junk and you get rid of it. And I can see the evidence of that in your hair. So are you storing things? How much of the filter are you? And how much do you want to be the filter? Or is your body getting rid of it on its own? And you can see what's going on glandularly. You can see what's going on at the cellular level, how well the body is processing, what its vitality is. And those things give me a distinct picture and tell me exactly what supplements you need, what kind and how much.
This is what's fascinating. I have a feeling most people know this, but the amount of chemicals that are created each individual year is literally numbering in the thousands, maybe the tens of thousands each year that are going into the world around us. And as I think it was as long as 15 years ago, they were discovering that Native Americans who lived close to the Arctic Circle had tremendous amounts of pollution in their bodies, stored in their body fat, from things that are nowhere near where they live. I mean, there's chemicals and byproducts from all sorts of things that they really would never encounter. And that just goes to show how even the people who live in some of the cleanest or safest, quote unquote, environments from all these environmental toxins, if they're getting it in doses that are then something that you can test for and find, the average person is getting a tremendous toxic load. And we have no idea how all of these toxins necessarily affect the human body, much less when you put them all together and then see how they affect the human body.
Well, and what's even more amazing is that each toxin, at least the ones that we test for, we can actually, through looking at other professionals. So, for example, when we autopsy bodies, they can actually pick up on where these different toxins store. It's not just in the fat. Iron will store in the heart, the kidneys, and the liver. Lead will store in the pancreas. And especially with people who have been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, there's usually a load of lead that their pancreas has built up on. And you can see the progression of digressed health through this whole process of, I was exposed to this kind of toxin, I have this kind of disease now, and the progression is usually not a good prognosis. But it's like you can back out of all of that. Like aluminum, for example, so prolific in our environment. We cook with it. It's aluminum foil. It's it's everywhere. We use it. It's in our deodorants. And
Yeah.
I can see the level of exposure on a hair test. I can also tell you that that's what stores in the brain and tends to be a catalyst for things like dementia and Alzheimer's. So don't you want to get rid of that? And you can.
So one of the things that you mentioned was that you are able to show what kind of supplements that are needed. And I see you focus on the minerals. So maybe you could take a moment and explain the difference to our listeners between vitamins and minerals.
Yeah. Minerals are more closely related to the stardust we're made of. If you want to get, I'm a little woo-woo as well. So if we could just eat dirt, and process that, and because dirt has minerals in it and stone has minerals in it, the earth from which we came is full of minerals. We are supposed to be made of minerals also. If you imagine that we're made up of a recipe, and those minerals are what the body prefers to be made up of, our structure, our organs, our tissues, everything. And as we take in those minerals, then the body will prioritize and say, okay, I have this type of mineral in my food. I'm going to use that up. If I don't have enough of that to make more me, I call it MacGyvering a body together, then it will pull from the next most likely source. Like a car will use a spare tire. When you blow a tire, it will use a toxic metal, toxic chemical, a lesser quality mineral, or even a drug to replace and then fill the order. It's got to fill the order. You have to stay alive. That's its number one mission, is to keep you going. The question is, how well of a U-turn can you make on a donut tire? How well can you
Yeah, you can't run a
accelerate?
race. Right. You can't drive in a race on a donut. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So the difference between a glucose delivered vitamin and even a glucose delivered mineral is like having a cup of coffee versus having a really good night's sleep. Something that is rejuvenative, something that is sustainable, that's your sleep. Something that just gets you through the day and is a whip on the adrenals, that's going to be your quick and dirty glucose push.
Very, very, very cool. So in terms of creating overall ill health, is mineral balancing, the science of mineral balancing, is that where you think people should kind of start?
I think it's a great foundation, and I think it's one of the cogs in the wheel. So it doesn't matter where you start, as long as your ideal self is the center and the driving force behind, I want to feel good, I want to do that without drugs, I want to do that sustainably, I want to have a life of natural evolution. Like, you could start out on the spiritual path. You could start out in yoga. You could start out in exercising. At some point, you'll plateau in your progression. And that's when we need to kick into gear what am I missing? And very oftentimes, it's about adding in this layer of, let's rebuild the body, bring it back to the foundation that we weren't even born with, because imbalances and toxins pass from, guess what, mother to child in the womb. You're not born perfect. And then you can spend your whole life trying to overcome them. So
that's incredible.
A lot of people
really
don't
is.
know that.
A lot of people do not know, yes. And it's funny, even though I've heard this before, it does sound like news to me as well. And I want to go ahead and say that if you're listening today, we want you to stay tuned. In the next segment, we've got some really inspiring talk that we're going to have in the next segment. We're going to be talking about business, and we're talking about women in business in particular. Eva's got a very interesting story to share with you about her particular business and how it fits in the world of business overall, and as a woman business owner. So if you're in a place right now where you're a woman and you are starting a business, or you're already involved in a business, we're going to literally take the lid off of your business in this next segment, give you the chance to think about bigger things, and we're going to also give you the chance to do what the show is named, to imagine more success. So please stay tuned. You're back on the Imagine More Success radio show with Cindy and Thomas. Cindy, we are going to be talking about women in business. And anytime I think about women in business, you always come to mind first, not just because you've been a woman in business for so very long, but because you've helped and supported so many women really change their business and to do more than they thought was possible. And you're an extraordinarily inspiring coach and someone who makes tremendous difference in people's lives, including mine. I'm speaking from personal
now I'm
experience.
blushing.
Perfect. So this segment, we're really gonna talk about that, and I'm gonna let the two of you really get more into conversation about this. Eva actually has a very unique set of statistics around her business that I'd like for her to share. Eva, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your business and some of the specific things about being a woman-owned business.
Sure, and I have to say I stumbled across the statistics quite by accident, and it was not an intentional outcome, but I thought, how very cool. I'll take that pat on the back. Beautiful. And yeah, as a nutritional counselor, that's my official title, that's what's on the certificate, if you will, I recommend modalities to help push out the toxins and support the body in the healing process. And one of those supportive techniques is using a near infrared sauna. And a lot of people are familiar with the infrared sauna. This is different. This is with the red lights. And I decided, well, you know what? My dad, he was an electrical engineer for work, and he also made furniture for fun. And so I employed him and worked with him to create near infrared sauna panels that can go anywhere, convert any small space into your own personal sauna that you could use at will in your home, travel, wherever. And I thought, well,
that's
I'm not
incredible.
Thank you. I thought, I'm not the only practitioner who recommends these saunas. So let me reach out to the other practitioners and see if they'd be interested in getting these for their clients or recommending them, and they can earn a commission and I can drop ship, whatever. And so I created this affiliate program. I took my own competition and turned them into my clientele as a service. And I says, here you go. This is what, what I'm offering. And I started to ship them not just within the United States. I started to ship them to other countries. And it wasn't just one country. I said countries. And so I found out on a podcast, actually, I said, did you know that of the number of women-owned businesses, less than 1% of them from the United States are shipping and exporting to another country, single country, less than 1%. Now, less than 1% of 1% are shipping to multiple countries. I went, that is awesome. I didn't know that. So...
That's an amazing statistic. Cindy, did you have any idea about that?
I did not.
Yeah, I was fascinated by that. What about your experience of that when you heard that? How did that make you feel?
Well, like I had accomplished something that I didn't know there was a finish line for it. But then I went back and I looked at how can I take the rest of my business international. And so that for me, it's always what's the next step and how can I be of more service? And that's really what helped. So in getting my export business going quite by accident, just by being of service to my fellow practitioners who are all over the world, then I was able to say, I would like to offer my services as a healing coach, a practitioner, to individuals all over the English-speaking world, because this is the only language I know. Sorry, guys. That's it.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So just add a language, and you can add a whole nother demographic. There you go.
Seriously, yeah. Well, that's the great thing about scaling a business, because that is my next step. Is that I have a certification program for those who, and I've had a few clients who are become enamored with the work, and they've decided I want to be a practitioner. Okay, great. Let me get you all set up, and they can get certified and become mentored and build their own practice. And I offer marketing coaching for that purpose, specifically for hair mineral analysis practitioners, and get them on their way. So it's possible.
Fascinating.
Well, one of the things I was fascinated about on your website is that you are a holistic, psychological master practitioner. MINDS.
Yes.
Can you tell us what that is?
It's about not needing to go too far into the past with talk therapy about your traumas. And Tom mentioned early on that especially childhood trauma can lead to problems with your health. Absolutely. And a lot of these solutions around that, and I'm not a psychologist at all. That's not what the certification is. It's about healing traumas without caring the why. So we can energetically go into, and I'm a medical intuitive as well as shaman-like, and I have abilities that are very woo-woo out there. A lot of people are afraid of, but I was raised Catholic, and there was no room for any of these things in the Catholic religion. So I had to just make a decision of,
Even though
do I
there are
want
a few of those things in that.
yeah, yeah.
There are a few of those things in there.
There are, but it's like if I want to be of service and I want to embrace the full part of me, I need to go beyond what I'm taught by dogma. And so that's pretty much what all of this entails. And the Minds Practitioner certification is just an extension of how can I release myself from traumas that are causing indigestion, traumas that are new, traumas that are old, even car accidents. You don't have to relive the car accident to get the trauma out of your body. And there's ways to do that remotely. There's ways that you can do that yourself. And I teach that. I teach how you can do it. So you're not dependent upon me. Whatever work we learn to do together, it's going to far outlast whatever time we spend. And that's really the important part.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
And that's the mark of a truly excellent coach / practitioner. When the work that you do together, the results that you get last far beyond the time that you spend together. And that's, if you're out there and you're listening right now, and you're looking for someone to work with to do this, keep that in mind. Whenever you find someone whose work lives longer than the length of the time that you spend together, that's the type of person you want to be looking for, working with, and putting energy towards.
Well, and the twist on that is that is what is expected in any business.
Yes.
Expected is, the operative word right there.
Yeah.
I believe it is a reflection of the integrity and my intention. I believe that. And people can read into that however they want to. I just decided I wanted to be this type of business person, and I didn't want my clients dependent upon me, because codependency, there's just no room in the world for that. I'm sorry. We've got to move beyond it.
Well, and it really means people don't actually get what it is that they need if they continue to need the person that's supposed to be helping them move beyond.
I agree.
And speaking of needs, this is really one of Eva's concepts, is the idea that need is the mother of invention. This is really her story as well. And then beyond your own needs being the mother of the invention just for your own self-work, you've then taking it to a much wider audience, giving more people the opportunity to find themselves with better health and having a better life experience, which is really incredible. So in the first segment, we really talked about putting in some of those things. We talked a lot about minerals. We talked about the balance of minerals and mineral balance science. Earlier in the show, we were also talking about using infrared saunas. Was it far infrared saunas or near infrared saunas?
Near infrared saunas, right.
Near infrared saunas. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in that part, we're really talking about taking things out of the body, removing toxicity, like getting things out. I want to take a moment and talk a little bit about that, like detoxification, because I know that you have a very wide understanding of detoxification, and I think that sometimes that word is kind of oversimplified.
Yes.
And so I'd love for you to speak to that and kind of give us an understanding of what detoxification is in a grand scheme.
I'm also queen of vague, so you might.
That's great. No, that's great. I'll ask questions. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's good. So I think a lot of people, I stay away from the trends and the fads because people say, oh, I do a detox, Eva. I do this weekend thing and I get my toxins out and I do this drink and I do this fast. And I'm like, that's barely going to scratch the surface. So if we have a body that, if we imagine, is developing its metabolism in layers like an onion, and each layer then can hold on to viruses, toxins, bacterias, the environment that allows parasites to live, all of these chemicals, drugs, and then they get trapped in these layers of metabolism, and your body tries to overcome it with a new layer on top. It just covers it up, right? Covers it up. And having them underneath is kind of like having a boil under the skin that hasn't surfaced, and it hurts like hell. It gets red, right? It's a gross but get it, right? It's underneath, it's causing inflammation. That's the same thing that's happening with all those things trapped in the inner layers of metabolism. So when you do a weekend detox, or even a 30-day detox, a miracle cleanse, a blah, 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 whatever those are, it's just massaging the outer layer of your metabolism. It's not healing and letting the stuff come to the surface to get out. And that is the magic in healing an outer layer. Give your body what it needs so it can heal the outer layer. And then the new layer is revealing all this crap that you've been holding on to. It's time to let it go. So it's a put the right things in, let the body's natural intuitive ability, what our grand design was meant to do, flush out all of the toxins. And all we're doing is ushering them out, saying, all right, here's the exit system. Let's go. Let's push it out. So it's both.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. So there's a couple of different ways that toxicity can be removed through the body. And you can tell us exactly how many. But the ones that I know about is that it can come out through the skin, which is why you recommend using near-infrared saunas. It can also come out through either type 1 or type 2 detoxification pathways, both of which are dependent, well, at least one of them is dependent upon having enough minerals and the right amounts, as well as antioxidants and all these things that are necessary. And as I learned more about detoxification, I realized that a lot of the detox protocols actually are completely void of the actual chemicals, not chemicals, the very things that you need, whether it's vitamins or minerals, in order to detoxify.
Right. Yeah. I mean, imagine blowing out a tire and deciding to drive to the tire store on the rims. That is exactly what you're doing to your body when you're chelating, pulling minerals out, or not minerals, toxins out of where they're being utilized in a place in the body most of the time, because they're replacing the mineral that should be there. So there's a very natural system already built in. The body has preferences. It sees a mineral, it knows where the toxins are in the storage areas of the body, and then it says, I know where that mineral goes. It plucks out that toxin, puts it into what you call, your pathways of detox, and out it goes. And it could go out through your breath, from breathing. That's the number one place. First thing in the morning, you wake up with a bunch of phlegm and you're like in the bathroom with a bunch of junk coming out. That's your detox. Your body's trying to get rid of things. Mm-hmm. So that's just one of many.
Yeah, there's one. And then obviously using the saunas, let's talk about that for a second. Whenever you're using the sauna, you're literally removing the toxins that are stored specifically in the fat, basically underneath the skin. And a lot of the toxicity of our body does get pushed there. And it's a really easy way to get rid of chemicals and toxic materials that you've been exposed to without stressing the internal organs, because it doesn't have to go through the internal organs to exit your body. It's literally just crossing across the barrier of your skin.
Yeah, through the capillaries in the skin. And there's an important distinction between, high heat saunas, 180 degrees, some of them.
They get hot, for sure.
Yeah, they get really hot. And you still sweat, and you're still not, if you're not exercising, you're not stressing your body out, then you're detoxing. So to a degree that still works. It's the ancient way. But if you want better, then go to an infrared sauna. Infrared sauna, those light rays, they penetrate about an inch deep into the surface of the skin, and they help circulation, and they've helped acne, they've helped blood pressure, all kinds of great benefits to just an infrared sauna. Now you take it one step deeper and you go to a near infrared sauna. You've got now light therapy, red, yellow, and orange light rays that are helping improve your mood. It's immediately available through your eyes. Not to mention it's giving you energy. It's penetrating roughly about 3 inches in. It's shunting stagnant blood from the core of your body, depending on how thick you are.
Well, Eva, this is fascinating, and I hope we can continue on in our next segment.
We are. When we come back in just a moment, we're going to continue the conversation with Eva Vennari, who is the Healing Rebel. If you want to find her, go to theelevateinstitute.com. That's theelevateinstitute.com. We want you to continue to check out the show. Stay tuned. We've got a great free gift for you in the next segment. Please stick around. We'll be right back with the Imagine More Success radio show. Thank you for sticking with us on the Imagine More Success radio show. We're so happy you could continue to join us. We're continuing the conversation with Eva Vennari. In this segment, we're going to be also giving you her free gift, which is a really incredible, fantastic gift. She is known as the Healing Rebel. She's the CEO of the Elevate Institute, a cutting-edge health coaching firm that specializes in empowering you to take charge of your body and your health. Eva, we've kind of hit all sorts of topics today. We've talked about mineral balancing, detoxification, the use of saunas. We've talked about all these issues that people have they're completely unaware of that come up so slowly over time that sometimes it takes a really long time to even get a diagnosis. So for the person who now has a diagnosis, sometimes they feel like they're kind of locked into a prison. Tell us what's really possible for them. Tell us what can happen for them besides going to that health prison.
Yeah, it becomes part of the identity, and you become used to this whole measuring out your life of, I have to live by these set of rules because I have this. And I say, there's an option here. What if you decided that you don't have to live with it? You can live with the diminishing effects of it as you heal it. And that is a possibility. It's a true possibility. I see it all the time. It's not a hard thing to do. It's just an allowance. It's saying, okay, I'm going to give up the stubbornness of owning this as a label, and I'm going to allow myself the ability to find something that works and give it some credence as it shows proof and evidence that it is working. So you don't want to just follow any old thing. You want to find somebody who has what you've had, has been where you are, and can show you how to get there, and that you click with. And not everybody is going to click with me. I tell a lot of bad dad jokes, so unless you can get along with dad jokes.
Well, I've got a whole slew of people for you to work with then. Yeah, a lot of people who love those.
my girls, they roll their eyes. They're like, oh my God, Mom. And I'm like, well, some people like that. I don't know what to tell you. So anyways, the possibilities are that you can live with a diminishing effect of something, even with the diagnosis. And even if doctors or traditional medicine tell you, oh, you'll never get over that, I'm living proof that you can. Let me show you all the other people who are living proof that they have.
Well, I would be really interested about learning more about how you analyze the hair for the various mineral deficiencies and maybe how many minerals you test for. That is truly fascinating.
What I find amazing is that I know that there are so many more minerals and nutrients and toxins in the body than what we test for. There's only 22 different levels. 11 of them are nutrients. 6 of them are toxic metals, and then we've got a few others that are non-issue. But when we look at the individual levels, it's not as important as when we look at the combinations. It's the relationship of minerals that determine your vitality and your different needs. And that's where it really becomes interesting.
I can see that. So certain things are they operate in pairs. We talked a little bit about zinc and copper, how the relationship between zinc and copper can have many different ways of expressing itself. It can express itself in tremendous energy and superior health, or it can express itself in terms of diseases and negative health functions.
Yeah, I have a story if we have time for it. It's
yeah, we do. Go for it.
So I had a empty nest situation. I rented out my room to a UCLA postgraduate student, and he was working on environmental toxins. Oddly enough, it's a law of attraction. There you are. And we would have these fantastic conversations. And he would overhear sometimes me giving a consultation, and I'd say, look, in your situation, you have a copper toxicity. Copper tends to store in the reproductive organs of a female. So you're talking about the uterus, the ovaries, all of that. And he listened to that story as I was giving the consultation after I was done. And he goes, I was just speaking with the medical students at UCLA, and they just had a whole bunch of cadavers brought in, and he goes, all of the female cadavers had toxic levels of copper, and they were all marking over it. They were like, I don't know where this is coming from. And I'm like, well, I've been dealing with this for a long time. I could tell them where it's coming from.
Wow.
And how it's there. So I wish that we had more communication between the two worlds, what's called traditional medicine, medical school, and us practitioners who have some insights, because I think we could share an awful lot of really great information. But anyways, to that point, if you have copper toxicity, oftentimes that leads to what's prolific in the world, hypothyroidism. There's a link between this copper toxicity and the zinc imbalance, how copper and zinc are like brothers and sister minerals in the body. And without enough of one, the other one just says, well, I guess I don't have what I need to process myself, so I'm just going to store. And it stores up in the uterus.
And this is one of those issues that then leads to reproductive health issues, right? This is
the younger and younger. I mean, I was told I was infertile at the age of 22. So I had a miscarriage at 21, infertile at 22, went through perimenopause at the age of 28, and reversed all of that at 36 by being on this program.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And that's what's really possible for people that, sometimes what seems like the end of the road for you, if you're listening, if it seems like you're at the end of the road or you've gotten this terrible diagnosis, it's not a label you're going to have to necessarily live with the entire rest of your life. There are ways of solving this. Again, really, it's not about being outside of the medical system. It's about using a different set of metrics in order to examine the problem and to then find another solution. Again, using a different set of metrics. And, if we were talking about anything else, we would say there's no lack of resources. There's only a lack of resourcefulness. And I think that's a concept that if we apply it to health can make a huge difference. And if you apply resourcefulness to your health, the possibilities, the outcomes can be phenomenal. And with that, I wanted to share your quote, which is your favorite quote. Our duty as men and women is to proceed as if limits to our ability did not exist. We are collaborators in creation. That really hit home for me. I thought that was incredible. It's Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. And with that, Eva, I want you to let's give the listeners today the ability to proceed as if there's no limits. I want you to share your free gift with them today.
Oh, it's so much fun. This is one of my favorite things to do. It is, a free gift, and you just have to be brave, especially if you wear makeup and you're not used to going without. So I offer
I think everybody's used to that now.
The number of people who shared with me, well, I've gone gray and they've touched in their hair, and I'm like, it looks fantastic. I've never known the difference. But letting our true light shine. So a lot of times the face will show signs of illness in a way that we're unaware of. And so I've employed Chinese face reading and learned how to look for serious issues with heart, kidney, liver, spleen, circulatory system, heart system, and if you're living in your purpose. So if you're willing to submit your selfie and let me look at your picture, I will give you back a fairly decent sized report of what I find in your face. And you'll find that on my website, theelevateinstitute.com. It's right on the front page.
And what do they click on when they get there?
I believe it's a button that says, yes, reveal it to me. And you just click on that.
Cool.
That's it. I'm looking at it right now. Very easy to find. Definitely something that you can take care of. And so basically all Eva is telling you is that you can find a way to better health, but first let you take a selfie. That's the first step, apparently, into getting this done.
Well, some people aren't so willing to give me some of their hair at first. So this is a way to do that without a stamp, without cutting some hair.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I can't give you too many solutions, but I can at least tell you if there's a problem.
And this is the thing. These conversations are just getting started. This is your chance to get the conversation started, to get moving, to take that first step. Maybe you've been thinking about doing something for your health. Maybe you've been thinking about it, knowing that you need to do it, knowing it's something that you need to employ, knowing it's something that needs to change. You don't want to live this way. You want to live a new life. You want to live in great health. You want to feel great. You want tons of energy. Well, take this first step. And that's really, really, really important, because it's not one step that's going to change the entire outcome for you. But without that first step, you never get there.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Eva, what's something else that someone can do today, just as a start, just to change the way they're thinking? It's another action, another change of thinking, another possibility for them, something they can change in their thinking about what their life is like today.
the word permission keeps coming up for me in my mind. As you're asking the question earlier in the conversation, permission kept coming into my mind. So it's give yourself permission to ask questions. And if the answers you're receiving, and I mean to the people that you've been giving over your power for health to, are answering with, we just don't know. We don't have the answer. That is the only answer they can give you to say, look elsewhere. And I invite you to ask the questions, to find out where, if you're barking up the wrong tree or not, and then give yourself permission to look elsewhere in a way that aligns with your values. That is the best advice that I can give.
Well, what a fabulous way to find answers to problems that you've really tried to figure out. And, most people don't realize that all doctors can do is try to diagnose and then either give drugs or therapy or surgery, and that is it.
That's what their license tells them. They're only offered to say, so they cannot tell you to go seek out Eva at the Elevate Institute and have your hair analyzed. They can't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. They can't even tell you to take a supplement.
No, they can't.
Well, I know when it comes to human health, it's extraordinarily, it's a gigantic topic, and there's so much that needs to be known, and there are so many people with so many different specialties that I won't say it's impossible, but it's an entire life's work to be able to know and understand and to have experience with all of these different modalities and to be able to know them all. So when we have to realize anytime that we're putting our faith in a very specific system, which is geared towards very specific outcomes based upon very specific methodologies, it's a limited path. But it doesn't mean that that's the only path. There are other pathways to health. There's other things that can be done. There's other metrics that can be measured. And something that comes up in public speaking all the time, what gets measured gets mastered. And if you're not measuring all these different things in health, and I'm realizing this in my own health, if you're not measuring all these different things in health, you're not going to be able to master them.
Well, and truly, the most important thing in our lives has to be our health, because without it, what are we going to do?
Right. Get on Social Security disability, which was what they told me would happen if I continued down that path.
Well, I'm just talking about quality of life. I mean, to do the things you love to do,
right.
You just have to maintain a healthy body and lifestyle.
Yeah, I wanted to be a productive part of society. It was important to me. So I tell people all the time, go to the doctor, get the good news that it's all in your head, and then we can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful way to end the show today. Eva, what a fantastic opportunity to talk to you today. We really appreciate having you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If you want to learn more about Eva, go to theelevateinstitute.com, where you can get your free gift, which is the face reading, which can start your conversation with Eva about how you can improve your health, get more energy, feel better, and live outside of some of the labels that you've been given by the medical system. If you want to listen to some of the past episodes of the Imagine More Success radio show, go to imaginemoresuccess.net, where from every single episode, you can get a free gift where you can interact with some of these incredible practitioners, business coaches, marketers, people involved in all aspects of business to help you really grow and thrive. And if you'd like to learn more about how Cindy and I in particular can help you to increase the amount of money that you're making in your business, go to findhiddenmoney.com, where you can find courses on how you can begin to build all of the requisite skill sets and traits that you need as a human being in order to be successful in business. And if you'd like to learn how to change your mindset, you can go to themillionairemindsetcourse.com to help you develop that millionaire mindset, which is the first step in you getting the financial freedom and all of the wealth that you deserve in your life. Thank you again for joining us on the Imagine More Success show. We want to always leave you with this. Now is your time to realize your dreams and imagine more success.